Hello everybody, welcome to the Claw and the King podcast. I'm joined by my good friend Oscar here. We've had quite an eventful week in sport. The summer of cricket has begun. Did we touch on that in the last episode?
We did, and it's going to be a stark contrast to last week.
Yeah, it's going to be a very different point of view in terms of how the Australian team is performing at the moment, but that's something that we'll get to a bit later. We'll start off with a bit of basketball talk. It's kind of on par to what was said on last week. I mean, sorry to just re-say what we said last week in terms of the basketball, but in terms of the Lakers especially, it feels like every podcast we have a different point of view.
Yeah.
And we said that last week. I mean, the first podcast we did was like, oh my God, the Lakers are the best thing going. I mean, JJ Redick is a savior. And then they lost 4 games in a row and they're like, ooh, maybe he's on Darvin Ham territory. And then they won 5 games in a row and everyone's like, oh my God, JJ Redick, savior. And then he's lost 5 games in a row and he's got the same record. I think it might even be worse than what Darvin Ham had at this point last season.
Yes.
What's going on?
What is going on? That is the question. It's obviously shocking. It's hard to believe. Yes. I do think we are officially out of the running in terms of contention. I do think.
Wow, you believe that now?
But then I do think.
Bold take.
Can Vanderbilt get healthy? And is he what we need?
Yeah, he's going to really help that offense move.
No, but essentially the main talking point from the Lakers, apart from obviously JJ Redick and us losing, has been the LeBron streak, I guess, of bad games. I think he went 0 for 19 or something from 3 across a few games. Did you see him
dunk in pre-games as well?
Yes. So there's a lot of talk about, is the GOAT finally aging? Is he finally slowing down? And I think there obviously is, I mean, that's going to happen. Like, probably we didn't expect him to be struggling to score 10 points, but I think it's natural for him to decrease. Obviously, the last 2 games he played amazingly. I think he had a 40-point triple-double last game. So he's still capable of doing that, but it sort of just highlights how thin our team is, that when he isn't capable of doing that, we are dog shit.
But even when he does it, I mean...
we lost to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you lost by 40 to Miami when LeBron had a great game. Anthony Davis, your MVP, didn't have the best game. He's not looking
Anthony
the best.
Davis just, consistency. Like, he doesn't know what it is.
No, exactly. And that was my point in terms of performance.
But normally it's injuries, but now it's just...
Performance as well, has not been up to
like,
par.
how can you score 8 points in a game as a... like?
Well, who is enemy number one? Is it JJ Redick's issue, or is it?
I don't know.
A specific player? Is it D'Lo again, or is it?
Well, he can't be enemy number one. He's essentially out of the rotation at this point.
Okay, fair.
But obviously, he's an enemy of the state. We'd like to.
I saw who was it? Gabe Vincent did like a 0 for 8 game.
Well, he started last game, so he's obviously his performances wowed the coach enough to get him in the starting lineup.
Yeah,
and to be fair, he did hit I think 2 threes, which is a franchise high for his Lakers career, so that's obviously extremely promising. But we're just extremely thin. Austin Reeves obviously has been out the past week or 2. I don't even know what his injury is, but it just shows as soon as we lose one of those top, out of LeBron, AD, Rui, Reeves, if we lose one of those guys, we are absolutely finished. Max Christie, he sucks. I don't want to see any more.
Yeah, I saw him getting minutes. I was like, you can't be going that well if
Atlanta were chanting, LeBron will trade you to Max Christie in the game.
Entirely possible.
And that's sort of the thing is, where do we go? Do we make a trade? That's essentially the only option. But who do we get? I've seen Brandon Ingram thrown up. I mean, would I take him? Yeah.
It's more Band-Aids though. It's more temporary Band-Aids that will help you get into the play-in and will help you do nothing else. The only valuable trade piece that you have is Anthony Davis. That's the only one that you can reasonably trade.
And we've got the 2 pieces
and get young players and young picks and rebuild.
No, but I don't want to rebuild.
But what are you going to do? You're not going to compete.
We rebuilt. We got Lonzo, Ingram.
You didn't rebuild though.
Russell, Randall. That was a rebuild, and then we were like, sack that off. These guys suck, and we got LeBron and AD in.
Yeah, and to be fair, you won a fake championship in the process. But it's still, just because you failed one rebuild, maybe it's Pelinka that's a problem. Maybe. I mean, the guy has orchestrated some good late moves, especially around the trade deadline in recent years, but overall team building, it's not been the best whatsoever. I mean, to be fair, he hasn't done anything that's sackable so far in terms of his team building. But he just can't rebuild a young crop of players and he's sort of through.
He's failed to land the free agents that have been available at times, a la Klay Thompson this year. Kawhi, yeah. And usually, Lakers are a very favourable destination that players want to go to in free agency. And he hasn't been able to close the deal with anyone, really, of note.
Which it should be his forte as a former agent. I mean, that should be why to convince people to go to the Lakers. And I mean, instead they've gone to, Klay went to Dallas, Kawhi went to the Clippers, to LA, but to the other team who, at the time, I mean, obviously he pulled the Paul George trade off at the same time, but there was nowhere, I mean, the infrastructure that the Lakers had, they had LeBron there, they had AD there, they had all the pieces to sort of attract a guy like Kawhi, but it just never sort of materialized, and he went to the Clippers. And that could be more of Kawhi's thinking of him wanting to be sort of by himself and not be on a superstar-studded team. Yeah, that could be part of it, but still, he hasn't been able to close that big free agent. I don't know if you can tear it down this season, just because it would just be, I don't know. It's very tough to like make all these plans and in the off season with JJ Redick and bring him in just for LeBron, and to sort of get that chemistry between the leader of the team and the coach, and then sack it off after 20 games. It's very hard to do that. But you've got to sort of pull that trigger at some point.
We're obviously not going to do that. He's going to get at least this season, JJ Redick I'm talking about. But it's LeBron James is 40 years old. Like, this is it. He's not going to be doing this next year, is he? He's not going to be. So,
what do you wait for? I mean,
exactly. You can't wait, really. So, but you're not going to sack him after 20 games and giving him, the keys to the franchise. So we're pretty screwed, I'd say. We're in a pretty
deep hole,
difficult position. And now obviously now that we've said this, we're probably going to go on a 10-game win streak and become good again. Yeah. So it just ebbs and flows, and that's why if we can make the playoffs, that's why I'm still, you have some faith that we could beat a team in a 7-game series, because over 7, a 4 or 5 game stretch, we can be really good. But that's where we differ from a team like Boston, where Boston, they're a 7.5 out of 10 every night. Some nights they're a 9. On an occasional night they're a 6.5 and they lose a game. We are either a 3 or a 9, and there is no in between.
Yeah, well, look, and the thing with the Lakers, and obviously I'm saying tear it all down and rebuild, it's completely unrealistic for a franchise to do that. You've got to understand this is not 2K. This is not like, oh, we've got a bunch of old players on bad contract. Let's trade them away for young players and young picks and rebuild for the future. It's not a video game. It's people's lives, and they do projections in the off season, and the inner workings of a franchise. They're always, I mean, like you just said, the thinking for them is, if we can win a playoff series, we're good. We can keep our jobs. It's all about keeping their jobs, and even though that's bad for a Lakers fans perspective, and maybe for the overall health of the organization going forward, that's just how they think. They think, well, look, we planned and we know we're not going to make, a championship run, but if we compete in the playoffs, that's enough for us to keep going for another year. And that's why a lot of these franchises in multiple sports, you see it in football as well, they're stuck in this middle ground because, these GMs are afraid to pull off these big moves because they're afraid of getting sacked. And they're scared of sort of tearing it all down because they're afraid they're going to get sacked. And the next guy will benefit from them sort of stripping everything down and looking towards the future. So, yeah, the Lakers just got to focus on this season and hopefully develop someone. I mean, they've also got Connect in there who's, showed promise.
He's also a brick at times. I mean...
Yeah, but he showed promise. And look, he's an older rookie, which probably doesn't bode well in terms of if he's got the highest of potentials, but he still showed, at times that he can be a key scorer for a championship level.
Still have Bronny, obviously.
Yeah, he's a future of basketball. Clearly, he can't even.
Do you reckon he'd have trade value just for his name?
No, he'd have absolutely
I reckon
none.
Maybe you could get a first-round pick for him.
That's crazy. There is zero chance that you could get
just for the jersey sales.
No, no. There's no chance that he ever gets moved. There is no chance he probably plays for another NBA team. I will put my podcasting reputation. He will not play for another NBA team. It's just how it is. He's just not. He can't score in the G League, and if you can't score in the G League, it's just he left college way too early. Everyone with a brain knew that.
Can you go back?
No.
But
to be fair, look, his goal was to make the NBA, and to be fair to him, he did. He got drafted based off nepotism, but that's how it is. And yeah, he's going to stay in the Lakers for a while. Any other sort of stories around the NBA that's intriguing to you?
I don't know. What are the main storylines at the moment? There's... I don't know. Is there any?
Well, it's a bit of that sort of meddling point in the season. The Cavs, I think the last time we did a podcast, the Cavs were undefeated. Obviously, they're not now. They lost to the Celtics. And they've lost to a couple of teams, but they're still looking solid. And yeah, the Clippers, in terms of home, my perspective, we've sort of had a bit of a gap in schedule. We've had a couple of 2 days off, so we haven't had the most amount of games. We're still looking good. Not looking too bad at all.
James Harden did have like one.
Yeah, he had a
2017 Harden game.
Yeah, he had a 2017 Harden game.
Yeah,
it was a crazy. And look, that's what you kind of need from this team, because offensively we've got absolutely nothing outside of him.
I did hear that Kawhi's back in practice around.
Yeah, he's
the team.
training individually, which I mean, I think he was training individually in the playoffs when he probably tore his ACL. Like, training individually means nothing. It absolutely means nothing. But yeah, my optimism that he will come back prior to the All-Star game is less than zero, if that's even possible.
Right. I don't really know if there's any other major storylines. There's just, like, no one's really... Like, I haven't heard any coaches that are under threat of losing their job or any...
Well, which is a coach that you think should be... I mean, the Sixers are still as bad as we said on the last two podcasts, actually. They've obviously had injuries, especially... Well, load management, really.
Yeah, but I can still see they're probably going to finish 6th or 7th from here.
Not.
I would be confident in saying that.
They can't, surely.
They can. They're like 3 games off that.
They're 5-15.
6-15.
How is that even a thing?
But like Brooklyn are 10-13 and they're 8th.
Yeah, but that's just that's embarrassing. Yeah, look, that's just the East. But yeah, NBA, not too much going on. Obviously, the Lakers sort of, it's in that middle of portion of the season. The in-season tournament is sort of added to that. Have you?
Oh yes.
Kept your eye out?
I feel like the in-season tournament's kind of died in the second year.
No,
I don't think anyone cares about it.
No, I think the players just make it. Like, the players should be marketing. I just can't stand NBA players, honestly. The way that they clamour for more money to care about the All-Star game. I mean, just their attitude is just about, essentially about money, and they just don't care. This is a great idea, gets more teams involved, and it gets teams to care about sort of the regular season, and fans to care about the regular season, and they just don't put enough effort in it, in my opinion. I think it should be marketed more. I think it should be sort of, even though it should count to your overall regular season record, I do think it should be marketed to a separate entity rather than the regular season, if that makes sense. It's like, oh, we got in-season tournament, or the in-season tournament, or I don't know how the Premier League does it, how they've got sort of the FA Cup fixtures. And I think they should include different teams. I think the in-season tournament should include, I don't know, if you get a G League team to have a game, it adds a different level of...
I guess, but they would get pumped.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes you get miracles. It's not... sometimes there are miracles in situations. Now, you don't want the fucking South Bay Lakers playing against the LA Lakers in a... I don't know what the answer would be to it, but I think there should be some more experimentation about sort of making that more diverse in the in-season tournament. Is there anyone... Who do you think is going to pull home the in-season tournament? Have you been keeping track?
Honestly, I don't even know who's left. Knicks are undefeated. Bucks are undefeated.
Yeah, the Bucks or someone will win. I mean, this is a perfect Doc Rivers storm. He'll win the in-season tournament, get knocked out first round of playoffs.
Yeah,
it'll be a success.
Look, I'd.
Wow, you're just not hyped about the NBA.
I'm not hyped about the in-season tournament. not just because the Lakers are out, but I'm going to go with the Knicks.
The Knicks.
I think that's something that Kat will just cry over winning with joy.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think, yeah. They could
Shout out to Kat, though. He has, what do you have, the 3 memes in the one game?
Well, is it, looking back on that Minnesota Cat trade, do you think Minnesota made the wrong decision there?
Yeah. I mean, Minnesota have been playing well recently. Obviously, they started slowly, and now they've started to pick it up again. Obviously, it helps when you play the Lakers. You get a free win by 30 points. But, yes, I do think New York won the trade. I think Cat's a better player than Randall. And I don't think Randall is as good a fit on the Timberwolves. He's not a floor spacer, so, you know.
Well, it's just the way that Anthony Edwards, I heard him talk about him post-game, and it was like, oh, that's my best friend. It's like...
Cat, yeah.
Especially if he's a good player. If it's a Giannis Thanasis situation, I understand, in terms of talent, I understand sort of saying, well, I know he's your best mate, but he's kind of crap, so we don't care. But if it's a situation of he's a good player, he's a key contributor for you, and you're trading away the best mate of your, I mean, once in a lifetime talent that will come to Minnesota, is that smart? I don't really think so. Now, he was infuriating at times, especially in the playoffs for the Timberwolves last season, but especially in the regular season, he does help you win games, and Rudy Gobert should have been the one on the trade. I mean, we have our opinions about it, and Rudy had a good, in moments last year, he was good.
Well, he's Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, clearly.
So,
but, you know, our opinion on Rudy, he's not, you know, going to win you a championship, especially in the playoffs when floor spacing is a key. But no, I think the Timberwolves, obviously they're on a better run of form now, so hopefully they do sort of improve, and Ant-Man can still be the future of the NBA as we predicted. But yeah, that's probably about it for our NBA chat. Do you want to move on to the croquet, or aka the cricket?
Yeah, the cricket.
Summer of cricket has begun.
It has.
In Australia. Obviously, India dominating the first test in Perth.
Yeah.
Now, the day-night test has come about. It's in Adelaide. It's I love Australian commentators. They're the most biased people you're probably ever going to hear.
Well, they're meant to be.
No, they're not. They're really not.
Mate, do you hear the English when they commentate?
No,
Have you heard Kevin Peterson on the mic?
Have you ever heard an Australian rugby commentator? It is the most infuriating...
Rugby union?
Yeah, rugby union. It is the most infuriating thing whenever they're commentating the Wallabies. Everything the Wallabies is going is good, and everything going
That's
against
their
them is
job.
irrational.
That's like...
No, it's not.
That's like the Hornets commentator in the NBA.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's so different. In the NBA, the Hornets commentator is... That broadcast is specifically going to people in
this is
Charlotte.
an Australian
That's
broadcast.
it. Yeah, but it's going to the world.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
New Zealand have different coverage.
No,
Yes.
it's just I just can't believe how biased it is. Anyway, they were doing an interview post match, and they were like, "Well, India really could have had an opportunity to grab this game by the scruff of the neck. Sorry, Australia were in the pits. They had a real opportunity to keep them down, but after day one, Australia right back in this Test match series, and it's like, I get it, Australia are playing well, but it is the perfect storm. No one else in the world plays a day-night test other than Australia, so they're the best at it by far. And secondly, Travis Head at Adelaide Oval is a cheat code. And he's bound to get 100 every time he plays. It is their best their only real consistent batter at the moment, playing at his ground, as well as a day-night test. If Australia don't win this, I don't think they could beat Bangladesh. So, yes, it's a good achievement by Australia to do as well as they are doing. But, like I said, it couldn't be a better sort of set of circumstances.
Look, that's a very negative point of view to take on it.
Well, look, I'm an English cricket fan. I get that it's negative.
I'm happy to have a complete U-turn on what I said last week, and let's ride with the old boys until the wheels fall off.
Right, yeah.
They somehow just managed from the brink of death to come back and win these important matches. Now, we can dissect the match a little bit. Obviously, the first match, we got pumped. I will say, we're probably not going to see a fifth day the entire summer, I'd suggest. It seems like all these games are going to be over in 3 days.
Baseball has taken effect worldwide. That's baseball to a
Which
T.
is I do enjoy it going down to the last day, but at least, there's no draws. So, but this game itself in Adelaide obviously started well for Australia with the ball. Mitch Starc is an absolute beast with the pink ball in hand. I think he took 6 for in the first innings. Also took Jace Ball, first ball in the second innings. He loves a first ball wicket, Mitch Starc.
Leg stump. Well, the thing with Starc is he's a very, and this is as someone that watches Australia from a negative point of view, or when I watch England versus Australia, I look at them, Australia bowlers not as good, but as, threats. Like, Cummins always kills us. Hazelwood, great bowler. Starc, he's a wicket. He's very dangerous, but he also leaks runs, and he's at times when it's not going well for him, he'll just toss up absolute garbage. But I mean, when it's going well for him, he is so dangerous. And it was a great first ball. I think obviously it was the same one that got Rory Burns out, but instead of it being bowled, it was hit the pad, and Jacewell went out. And Jacewell was one of the most informed batters in the world.
He said in the last game, he was saying to Starc, "You're bowling too slow, mate," and then he gets done first ball the next game.
Yeah, but he also did hit
150. Still
but,
getting a golden the next game. I mean,
but look, in terms of obviously Australia got India out for 180 odd, was it? And then they put together their batters looked a lot better, especially Labuschagne and McSweeney in that first innings.
Much needed runs for both those guys.
Yep.
Labuschagne's career was probably over if he didn't score this game.
And then, Travis Head really sort of put the nail in the coffin. It probably would have been, obviously, without Travis Head, it probably would have been a lot closer of a game right now. But, Travis Head getting 140 odd was a crucial innings. And then when he got bowled, or I don't know, he got bowled by Siraj. It was quite interesting. Siraj sort of was a bit rude, you could say.
Yeah, we gave him a send-off, which is, strange for a batsman. You don't normally do that to batters that get 140.
Yeah, it was a bit bizarre. And especially, if there was stuff beforehand, if there was a bit of chat and before, I'd sort of get it a bit. But apparently, according to Travis Head in the, the post-game, or the post-innings interview, he said, no, I literally did not have anything with him the entire innings. And then as soon as he just started chirping me as soon as I got out, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to hit him. Chirp him back.
So I think he replied with FUC, which, classic Aussie lingo.
Yeah.
Can't hate it.
Yeah, that's actually a compliment.
It's fuck you. But I love it. I love the drama. I like when bowlers talk shit to each other, to the batters. A lot of the cricketers don't, or the cricket faithful don't like that sort of stuff. But for me, it's great theatre. And the crowd was booing him galore after that. It was a great spectacle. I think Starc came out to bat next and hit him for 4 first ball. Great stuff. And when he comes out to bat today, he's going to get pumped, which will be...
Well, the interesting thing about this test as well is India had a lot of injuries in the last test, and they dominated Australia. Sharma was a key out for them. And they brought them all back. And Gill was out as well, who's also a really good, young, talented batter who kind of torched Australia in the last time that they were over here. They brought both of those guys in, and their batting's worse. Now, obviously, day-night, like I said, the pink ball. You've got Starc with his tail up.
And they don't... Pujara, I think Pujara's out the whole series.
And Josh Hazelwood isn't obviously bowling. And it's kind of in terms of the players on the pitch, the conditions might favour Australia, but the players on the pitch, you'd argue India have gone better and Australia gotten worse. And yet it seems like the performance levels have switched completely between the sides. So it's a bit bizarre how when they were undermanned, they were performing better, but now they're not.
Well, India also have a couple of players similar to, the Khawaja and Steve Smith category, let's put them in, which is the washed, you're in the team off legacy sort of category. In Kohli obviously had 100 last game, so it's hard to say that, but that was pretty much the only good innings he's had in a long time from what I've seen. He hasn't looked good in a while. And, Rohit Sharma is 37. He's still the captain of this team, but he looked awful yesterday. He looked like he was nowhere near even hitting the ball, to be honest. And he normally opens the batting. He from what I heard, he relegated himself to the middle order, or he put his hand up to go to the middle order for this test because Jaiswal and KL Rahul played so well in the last test. That obviously didn't work. So it's kind of, what do they do captaincy-wise? Because from what I'm seeing, it probably isn't the man.
No, I think he is. I think it's just it's kind of like he's coming back. And
he's 37.
Well, he should have opened instead of Rahul. I think that's pretty obvious.
So who did they drop from their middle order?
I think was it Washington Sundar?
Maybe. I don't know.
Ashwin came back as well. That's another one.
Ashwin came back. And all I've heard on commentary the whole day is, Mohammad Shami, he's coming over. He's going to be ready to go. He's like their saving grace. Yeah. Because Jasprit Bumrah is maybe the best bowler I've ever seen.
No, he's crazy.
He's crazy. And the rest of the team sucks. The pace bowlers.
Last test, the bowlers were fantastic.
Well, they weren't fantastic.
I think Rayner's not been impressive for me. Is the one bowler. I thought Siraj has had moments, and especially, like I said, last time India were over here, he was very impressive. Rayner hasn't really sort of impressed me too much. He's supposed to be sort of the attacking bowler of the lot, but he hasn't really.
I feel like India always have, bowlers that aren't as strong as their sort of premier bowler. Where Australia, we have 4 elite bowlers. Even, last time, I remember Ishant Sharma was always in the Indian team, and he was just trash compared to the good bowlers.
So the Australian conditions did not suit him at all. He was not meant for Australia.
But, yes, the bowling of Bumrah is elite, and everyone else was sort of getting smacked around the park a bit. Well, by Travis Head, obviously. He was the main guy doing the smacking. But, yeah, it was good to see. Obviously, India are 5 down, 30 behind, I believe, at the moment. So you'd think Australia will win from here.
Yeah, they're definitely going to win this test. It's going to be interesting to see, though, if they're going to continue this form on to the next test. And, the conditions are favouring Australia, but also the team, you'd argue, is a lot stronger for India than it is for Australia. So it's a bit of a really tough one to predict because, obviously India dominate the first one, Australia dominating this one. So it's tough to really gauge, who's got the upper hand.
I hope we do get some close games at some point. Obviously a close series is good, but the close games make it extra good, And in looking forward, this is obviously a massive series, but everyone's, I feel like, started to have one eye on the Ashes next year already.
Especially how England are playing. I mean, have you been keeping up with the England-New Zealand?
I heard they won, right?
So they're
winning.
Yeah, so they creamed them first test. Second test, they're creaming them again. I'm not too sure on the score at the moment. Last time I checked, England declared with a 580-run lead, and New Zealand were like 4 for 50. So
in New Zealand?
In New Zealand. So obviously there was a lot to be made of how bad Bazball had got. Like, Bazball should be sacked. Brendan McCullum. And it's... I know this from football. It's like when the opposing teams are like, you should sack him. And not because of how bad the performance is, but because, this doesn't work. He's lost a test. He should, England really need to consider sacking Brendan McCullum. And it's like, well, no one from England is saying that. And I hear it from Australian mates all the time who talk about it. It's like, well, you've lost a couple of tests this, in this cycle for England. You've not been as good as you were. And I am keen to remind them how bad we were when we didn't have Brendan McCullum as coach and Ben Stokes as captain. We were absolutely horrendous. Against Australia here, we were an absolute embarrassment. We were so boring, so defensive, and yet we got bowled out. Boland got 6 for 7 at the G or something. I can't remember the exact figures, but it was something crazy like that. So I think people are quick to forget, and I think Australians are genuinely worried about Bazball. I do, and I know that's...
Well, obviously the last Ashes, we saw that.
Well, yeah.
Where, looking back, we were sort of lucky to retain.
Weather really helped you retain it, and that's England, so you're going to get some... you're going to get some adverse weather in England, especially, and you've got to, have your luck with that. But with the weather in that series, if it was played in Australia, obviously the pitches would be advantageous to Australia. But if the weather conditions were like the Australian weather conditions, England would have won.
But obviously,
And woulda, coulda, shoulda. You shouldn't sort of put your hat on that.
Yeah, and England probably don't play as well on Australian pitches though. But
no,
yes, it's very exciting series, and I would say 95% of this Australian team would be looking at that series as their final series. They'd all be sort of hoping, like Khawaja and Smith, they got to be like, fuck, I hope I can just hang on long enough for this Ashes series and hopefully do something special.
Well, I think it'll be all time. I think in terms of ratings, I think it'll be massive because both sides are looking incredible.
Is Stokes still captain?
Stokes
I wouldn't be surprised if that's Stokes' last series, Root's last series.
No, they're not that old.
They're in their 30. They're 34.
Yeah, but then they're not. They've probably got 2 more Ashes in them. Especially, yeah. Maybe.
But Stokes always looks like he's literally broken every time I see him play.
The thing about Stokes is he's very injury prone at this point of his career, so it's more injuries that would keep him out rather than anything else. But
is Anderson still playing?
No,
is done. Okay.
Yeah, so England, in terms of players to watch for the Ashes, I know it's a long
Jofra
way away.
Archer playing?
He's coming back. I don't know. He's got injury concerns as well. It's tough to really keep track of him.
I feel like he's the X factor, but he just never plays.
Yeah. So in terms of batting, it's looking like I'd be very worried if I was
Harry Brook.
Harry Brook is unreal. Like, he is crazy. And in terms of crazy, he's not just crazy in terms of how good he is. He's crazy in terms of his head. He's absolutely nuts.
He looks like a normal guy.
No, in terms, like, he'll charge down a fast bowler while he's on 4 runs. He is crazy, but his ability to, I mean, it's like he's a golfer. His ability to connect with the ball, no matter how fast it's going, is mental, and how fearless he is with it. And in that middle order, it's so dangerous because Crawley can get out because he.
Is he? I thought he was out of the team.
No, he wasn't out of the team. I think they have him as their future guy. But with how the team is, England at times, I mean, in this series against New Zealand, it's pretty evident. New Zealand have had England for 3 for 30, but in the middle part, and they think they're coasting New Zealand, but then when they get to Brook and Stokes in the middle, or Brook and Pope, that middle order is so dangerous because at the moment it goes
Duckett still opening.
Yeah, so it goes Crawley, Duckett, the new guy that just came in, Bethel, who just came in. He's got really weird hair. He's got like a blonde, like mohawk almost.
I think I've seen it. Yeah.
But that middle order: Root, Brook, Pope, then Stokes. That is crazy.
Bairstow still in?
No.
No.
And then you've got a guy like Wokes as well, who can bat as well as being a good bowler. So
who's keeping?
Lineup. Pope is at the moment. They had Jamie Smith, I think, that was keeping against Pakistan, but I think he's pulled up an injury. I don't know exactly.
Do they have a spinner? Is the Leach still getting around?
Bashir, no, they've got this. He's a young guy. He's very tall. He kind of looks like you. Obviously, he's a different race, so it's a bit different. But Bashir, he's can't bat to save his life, but he's a good, talented bowler. So hopefully he's the future. We haven't had a good spinner in forever. I mean, Graham Swan's probably the last good one. And he was dreadful, especially in Australia.
Was he?
Oh,
he's like an all-timer, though.
No, he was fantastic in England, but he was not the best whenever I watched him growing up for playing Australia. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm looking forward to the Ashes, but we've got to keep our eye on this summer. We've got a couple of test matches to go, and obviously the Boxing Day test is the creme de la creme of the the Australia-India series.
That's the Sydney one, right?
I think.
Or is that MCG?
Yeah, I
think that's MCG.
But yeah, that's how cricket's going at the moment. Do you want to move on?
Just quickly on that.
Yeah.
Just lastly, Rishabh Pant, the short innings he played last night. My God,
what?
Did you see the shots he was playing?
No.
Essentially, first ball, Scotty Boland just knocks over Kohli. First ball, he runs down the wicket, slashes him away for 4. And then he plays a reverse hook shot, like a Glenn Maxwell reverse sweep, but a full-on hook shot. He does like a 360 to get it away for 4, 4th ball or something. And he played another crazy sky hook shot. Like, this guy is insane. The team is like 4 for 100. He's playing a runner ball 20.
Well, that's Harry Brook.
Doing T20 shots.
Well, yeah. That's the problem. I think that's probably the most disappointing thing. If you can pinpoint sort of a player, is Rishabh Pant. in this series.
He's been good.
I don't think so. He's not put together the key innings that he had last time. Last time he was the guy in terms of the batting for India. And look, the story is probably the bowlers in terms of that series, but the batting from Rashad Pant was just incredible. Him and Gill were sort of the key guys in the last time India were over here. So it's a bit disappointing that he's not been sort of as key as he was. And other guys can take his place, but he's been put in that sort of key role. I think, is he batting at 5? Is he batting at 5 or 6?
I think 6.
Well,
surely Sharma comes out before him.
Yeah, he might have changed this.
I don't know
this test, but anyway, I think he needs to sort of have a big one, and I think Australia are going to comfortably win this test, obviously. But who knows if he can put together a 100-run partnership and the tail can do a bit of wagging, try and get a 150 lead, and somehow sort of make this a contest.
Yeah. Also, quickly on that, do you see the Mitch Marsh dismissal?
Yeah, that was crazy.
My God, I feel like Mitch Marsh is kind of similar to me in that he's a bit of an airhead sometimes, a little bit dopey.
Very similar to Mitch Marsh.
Yeah, because the ball's missed his bat by about 2 centimeters.
That's the problem with being a gentleman in the sport.
Well, the only explanation is he forgot reviews exist.
Well, as much as I don't think Ashwin thought it was out. I don't think the umpire thought it was out until he started walking. You cannot walk until the umpire's given his decision. I don't care what you do. If you stand there and the umpire's given his decision of out and you think you've hit it, that's just how it is. And you walk off, whatever. But the fact that he starts walking straight away before the umpire's made his decision and then stops and just waits, oh, mate, you going to give me out or what? Missed the bat by a mile. Obviously hit his pad, and that happens. Sometimes you make a mistake in terms of when you play cricket, you hit something and you think you've hit the ball, but you've just hit the ground or your pad. But the fact that he's walked before the umpire's given him the out is a problem. And Andrew Gilchrist is, oh my God, what a sportsman. He walked off before, the umpire gave him out.
Well, he praised him for doing that.
No, that's what Gilly used to do. That's what Gilly, when he was playing back in the day, he would just walk before the umpire, even though if he knew he was out, he would walk before the umpire gave him out. And look, that's commendable, but you're here to win. And look, if you think you've hit it and the umpire's giving you out and he's raised a finger, go for a walk. But you cannot walk before, because you're causing a detriment to your team. Australia could have had this game. Now, they've had it probably locked up, but they could have had it definitely locked up if he didn't, get out when he did.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a key wicket for India at the time, and he just walks for no reason. It's a bit crazy, but that's just how the sportsman-like, game.
Yeah, Johnny Bairstow would never. So
no, Stuart Broad would never. Johnny Bairstow is different. Okay, that was a scummy move by Alex Carey, and I'll stand by it. You see him? He did that again yesterday when
did he?
Forgot who was batting. I think it was towards the end. And he's standing up against the wickets when Boland's bowling, and he's grabbed it and stumped him. Guy's clearly not got his foot up in the air. He's like, oh no,
but his foot did lift up just after he did the stumping.
It was on the ground the whole time.
It was on the ground while he took the bails.
It was on the ground the entire time, and the guy, oh no, that's out. Alex Carey's always trying to...
Well, you can have an appeal there. That wasn't dirty.
I'm not saying he's a dirty player. I'm just saying he's always trying to get the scummy wicket. He's always trying to get a dodgy wicket.
That's called good keeping.
That's how keepers are supposed to be. I get it. And he's a great keeper. But he tries to get a dodgy wicket. He's always trying to... If he could get a wicket without getting a wicket, he'd be the first guy to do it. It's a bit crazy. But anyway, moving on.
Moving on, we can chat a bit of F1 actually. I don't know how much you've been keeping up with it.
I have not. I mean, well, I've heard about the drama.
Yeah.
The George Russell, Max Verstappen drama.
Yes.
Do you want to fill the audience in?
Yes, well, so this is the last race of the season this weekend, so the drama sort of started last weekend. Max Verstappen obviously has the championship sewn up. With 3 races to go, I believe he locked up the championship. And last race, there was an incident in qualifying where Verstappen allegedly like slowed down to impede Russell on a fast lap or something. But I think they were both on a fast lap. So essentially George Russell goes into the FIA room, the stewards, and like starts getting on his knees saying, "Can you please penalise this guy?" And they give him a one place grid penalty. Verstappen obviously is not taken kindly to that, and has since said a few things about George Russell. George Russell has then come back and said a few things, and it's a proper beef at this point, a proper Formula One beef between Max Verstappen and George Russell, which has got everyone talking. I mean, and from what I've seen, everyone's on Verstappen's side. Everyone hates Russell.
Everyone's on Verstappen's side.
Yeah, they're saying Russell dogged him by coming up with some bullshit to get him penalised for no reason.
The part that I heard was George Russell was talking about Verstappen was trying to run him off the road. What, did that happen, or?
No, pretty much Russell's come up with some bullshit. Because, like, when you look at it, Russell kind of sped up into the back of Verstappen and then slowed down so he could say Verstappen forced him to slow down, if that makes sense. But he didn't really. Russell just created that situation himself.
Okay.
So, yeah, pretty much
the way George Russell described it, it was like he was trying to fucking kill him on the track. He was going to go into his side and friggin' knock him off course. No. So, yeah, it wasn't like anything bad, really. And then, yeah, Russell has said, "Oh, I don't respect guys like that, blah, blah, blah." And I think Verstappen said, "Oh, I'm going to run into him on the racetrack," or something like that. So, okay, so that's what he's referring to.
Yeah, that might have been what he's referring to. Verstappen's comments after. But it apparently got very heated in the stewards' room. They were sort of having a go at each other. And look, Verstappen's a 4-time world champion at this point. George Russell hasn't really done that much.
Well, Verstappen's also been in the best car for 4 straight years.
Well, this year you could argue he wasn't in the best car.
I could argue for 75% of the year he was.
Maybe not even 75. Like, he is a fucking freak of a driver.
He's a fantastic driver.
He's putting it consistently, 3rd, 2nd, 4th, 5th when Perez is fucking 15th. So,
well, there's a big delta between Perez and Verstappen. Verstappen is a top 2 driver on the... I'm not saying he's not... If everyone had the same car, he'd probably win at least 1 out of the 4 championships.
I think he'd probably win 4.
No,
I think he's clearly the best driver.
I think that's harsh. I think if you put Lando,
Perez is bad, but he's still a Formula One driver.
Put Lando, Leclerc, Hamilton in the early part of that 4-year stretch, I think they probably win as well. To say he's clear and away the best,
I think he clearly is the best,
and I think that's easier to say when he has the best car, on the grid. But I think it's.
But next year we'll see. Like, next year is shaping up to be a great season. No, we haven't. The last 4 years we've said, "Oh, fucking Red Bull's going to win again."
Yeah, after the first practice, we say that. And it's just like, well, all right, that was a fun season. But guarantee after the first race
next year it's actually going to be, I can feel it, it's going to be a 4-way race.
Well, it's going to be, who's going to be the biggest challenger then? Who do you think?
McLaren or Ferrari?
Well, Ferrari have obviously replaced Sainz with...
Yeah, that's the other big talking point. Lewis Hamilton, obviously. Yeah. Lewis's last race for Mercedes, kind of a bit of a negative sort of end to their relationship. Lewis hasn't been performing well. He got out in Q1 yesterday. Very weird situation where a bollard got knocked under the track and he was driving by right when it happened and it got stuck under his car and it ruined his lap. But, still he got out in Q1 in his last race for Mercedes. Probably not the way he wanted it to end. And he's been pretty poor the last few races, really. So
I think
it kind of looks like he's thrown the towel in a bit when it comes to putting effort in this year.
Well, I think it's a shame. I think the past 2 years, the time that Lewis Hamilton's got left is really precious. And I think for the last 2 years, Mercedes have been so behind, where their standards were. It's kind of like...
What, the glaze?
I'm not glazing it. I'm just saying...
time left is so precious.
I'm not... No, I know I sound like a Hamilton fan, and I am a Hamilton fan. But he doesn't have long... It's like LeBron for you and the Lakers. It's like, well, if we lose a game, it's one less game without LeBron. It feels like time is really winding down, and he's wasted the last 2 years of his career, essentially, because Mercedes haven't been able to put up a championship winning car. So yeah, hopefully he goes to Ferrari next season and sort of reignites that spirit that he has. He's obviously a bit too old maybe to really challenge for a title, I'd imagine. But if he can sort of help Ferrari win the constructors next year with Leclerc being sort of the main driver, I don't know how that dynamic's going to work because Sainz and Leclerc have had some problems, especially over the last couple of years with Sainz performing quite well and. Sort of when he came in, it was sort of the expectation that he'd be the number 2 to Leclerc's number 1, but at times he's outperformed Leclerc. So it's a bit tricky to sort of manage that relationship. But I wonder how it's going to go with a guy like Lewis Hamilton, who's won the most world championships on the grid. It's pretty hard to sort of manage that dynamic. I imagine
it's going to be weird seeing him in red. He's been in a Mercedes for so long.
Look good though. I think having Hamilton in a Ferrari is going to look cool.
Yeah, it probably will. Still going to be weird though. But yeah, and obviously it's sad news. Carlos Sainz is leaving Ferrari. Everyone's sad about that, getting emotional.
Where's he going?
He's going to Williams, so career suicide. But
I hate when that happens.
There wasn't really much. It's kind of really harsh on him because he's one of the better drivers on the grid, but there's just no spot for him in.
But does Red Bull not say?
Well, so Red Bull, it's all but confirmed that Perez is gone after tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he had another year.
He did.
So who's going to replace him?
I think the favourite... I think the favourite's Liam Lawson.
That's so stupid. That's boring. Get a big high profile.
Well, they like using their junior team as a stepping stone for Red Bull. They like bringing in their own drivers.
Well, yeah, I get that. But, technically... Danny Rick is your own driver.
He is, but they did just fire him from the reserve team, so it would be a bit of a U-turn to bring him back.
You've not done enough for the backup team, but you're good enough for the main team. Yeah, I think I just don't get how they've moved on from Checo. I mean, how did they? I thought the whole thing about them not letting him go at the start of this season was the contract. What's gone on with?
Well, they just have to pay the contract out essentially.
So, but why were they so unwilling to do so prior and now?
Because they thought there was a chance he might still be good, but now
I could have told you that.
Yeah,
there's no chance. He could have been
well, they thought he was probably still the best option. I think the thought process at the start of the year was, let's see Ricciardo hopefully kill it, and then we can, bring him in.
Yeah, but
obviously that didn't happen, so they've gone to Plan B, which is bring someone else in.
Fantastic Plan B.
Yeah, so and it's they've lost the constructors this year. It's a battle between McLaren and Ferrari, who will decide the constructors in the final race tonight. McLaren are currently leading. They're probably going to win it. They have a 1-2 lockout, so they're probably going to win it. But yeah, they win the drivers with Max, but they're nowhere near the constructors. And Max has won the drivers comfortably. With 3 races to spare, he's won it by 70 points or something.
Yeah.
And they're nowhere near in the constructors. So they obviously had to make a change. They could not continue with Perez.
No.
If they want to be winning constructors again. So, Liam Lawson, he's been okay. Is he better than Danny Rick? Are we really going to say that?
I think he is. I think Danny Rick is so washed it's not even funny. But yeah, I think it's going to be...
Yeah, Yuki's a bit harsh on Yuki. I feel like he's been toiling away for years.
Yeah, I think it kind of missed the boat. I think if it was a couple of years ago that Checo was losing it, I think they would have given Yuki a shot. But it's kind of Yuki hasn't really sort of shown the promise that we'd expect. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm surprised they haven't gone for... there's plenty of drivers that are, performing okay and, underwhelming. Alex Albon's a prime example. Do they want to go back to that, though?
No, they don't.
No. But
and that's probably a thing with Sainz as well. Sainz was... I don't know if you remember, he was with Red Bull.
Yeah.
And obviously moved on, went to McLaren and then Ferrari. So, yeah, it's tough. There's not really that many options available. Pretty much everyone was under contract for next year already. So
but it's Red Bull. Surely if they come calling, it's kind of like the George Russell situation with Williams. It's and Mercedes is kind of he has a contract with Williams, but Mercedes wants you. So
yeah, look, they probably could have, but
Anyway,
they like promoting their younger drivers. So Liam Lawson gets the seat.
we'll see how he does.
We'll see how he does.
Can't be worse than Checo. So
He's a Kiwi, so he's kind of close to Australian.
Does that count? Not really.
Maybe on the Formula One stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jack Doohan also is coming in next year. Another Aussie.
But Aussies are taking over. I think I've brought this up a couple of times. Have you forgiven Oscar Piastri yet? Are you on the Oscar Piastri train?
I'm kind of getting there on the train. I do like him now.
Do you think it was a right move for him personally, taking that McLaren seat instead of the Alpine?
Obviously, it was the right move for his career. You know, he's won races already, so he wasn't going to do that at Alpine. But
no, surely he could have.
He's that good.
Yeah.
But no, I think, and he's kind of funny. I just don't think I really got his personality, or he didn't show his personality at first. So I was like, this guy's just super boring.
He's kind of like you, though. Obviously, 2 Oscars. But
Oscars.
He's kind of like, I don't know. He's got that awkward sense of humor. It's kind of like, I don't know, like dry humor.
Dry humor. Yeah, probably.
So maybe you just saw a lot of yourself in him and you were upset at yourself for whatever reason, and then it just reflected in your hate towards another Oscar.
Maybe. But yeah, but I'm still not like, I would watch F1 every week just to see Danny Rick, and I would just fixate on where he was in the race.
Well, it's tough.
But I'm not really like that with Oscar.
It's tough with an individual sport. And it's probably how tennis fans feel about, when Djokovic goes or
Nadal just retired.
Or Nadal goes. Yeah, it's tough to watch it when you've been following a specific person for so long. And that's how it is with Formula One. People aren't really... I mean, there's some people that are Ferrari fans or Mercedes fans or whatever, but a lot of people are just like fans of individual drivers. So, especially it's the same thing with Lewis Hamilton for me. It's like watching him kind of be 5th, 6th, 7th, being that middle part of the track every race is kind of like, well who cares? So yeah, that's why hopefully next year with Ferrari he'll be at the top again.
Yes,
it's to hoping. Anyway, moving on.
Is there anything else?
Well,
football. Is there anything?
Football. United lost this morning.
To Forest.
To Forest.
That is awesome.
Onana's back to his prime self, which is fantastic. We are shocking. It's just we can't defend a corner. We lost to Arsenal midweek because out of 2 corners, it's so deflating.
Has Amarin done anything positive?
Oh, look, it's very early. I think what I like from him, and it's something that was probably swept under the rug with Ten Hag and the previous managers, is that they kind of molded their team. They came in with an initial plan and then molded their team to whatever the current players suited were. So, like when Ten Hag first came in, we lost to Brentford straight away, embarrassingly 4-0. And I remember that Liverpool game, we were fucking shocking in the previous 2 games, and we were like, oh, this Liverpool game is going to be an absolute write-off. But he set up in a completely different way than he did for the first 2 games. And we play counter-attacking football, which is suited to these group of players, and we won 2-1. And I feel from that point on, he was kind of felt vindicated in playing a style that wasn't his style of football. What I like about Amarin, what he's come out and said, and what he's sticking to so far, is he's sticking to a style of play. He's sticking to a formation. He's not getting overhyped about how good these players are. He's not praising them really. He's kind of saying, look, there was a quote that came out midweek. It was, we're a massive club, but we're not a massive team. And that's true. There's no denying that. I think it's good to sort of openly say, look, this team is nowhere where it needs to be. The results are what I'll be judged by the media, by fans. But at the end of the day, progress is made week to week, month to month, and you can see it visibly in the team. And hopefully, over a couple of weeks and a couple of months, and towards the end of the season, it'll start to look like a football team, especially with the January window. Hopefully, we can bring in a couple of players here or there that will help in certain key areas. But I think a lot of people are drawing comparisons with, Liverpool got a new manager this offseason, and they're flying at the top of the league. People saying, well, why can't Amarin do that? Why can't Ten Hag do that?
He doesn't have Mo Salah.
And that's the thing. Arne Slot's starting point is a million times better than what Amarin's or Ten Hag's was. both squads are completely different in terms of. I mean, there's just so mumbo. It's so unconnected. You've got players that are better in tight spaces. You've got players that are better in counter-attacking. Some that are good at tiki-taka. Some that are big and tall and strong. That are good at long balls. The squad is so disjointed and so expensive that it's depressing to watch them not be able to connect with each other. So yeah, I think it's disappointing, but hopefully we do see. I mean, I don't care about where we finished this year; it's completely gone. But we just need to see progress in terms of how we play and young players developing. So
maybe similar to Arteta at Arsenal. I remember everyone was flaming him the first couple of years.
Yeah, but he's fucking crap. I mean, he's fucking
well.
washed.
But he brought them to title contention from obscurity.
Wow, fantastic! I get it, but this season they have not been good. He's been in charge for 6 years now. They are corner FC. I don't care what the hell they are. Stoke on Red Bull. They are crap.
Are they?
They are.
Why are they bad this year?
Well, they're not. I mean, they're 4 points off, or they're 7 points off Liverpool at the top. So they're not terrible, but their entire game plan is centered around set pieces. And fair play, they put good balls in the box. They've got great headers of the ball. But
is that because they don't have a elite striker?
Their style of play is completely gone. Arteta's completely abandoned it. He's gone full set piece FC. And
is Gabriel Jesus playing?
He is.
Because they play Havertz at striker, don't they?
Yeah, he's in and out. He plays like he's brought in so many centre backs or left backs that are 6'3". So he basically builds a team where he has a bunch of these tall players. He brought in Marino, who's 6'2", 6'3", from Spain, and he has just a bunch of these tall, athletic, lanky guys for corners. And what they do is Saka whips the ball in really close to the keeper. They crowd the keeper so the keeper can't move. And they basically just flick header it. And it's like a FIFA glitch. It's so annoying. And that's what it should be. I mean, I'm annoyed by it. Arsenal fans probably love it. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be sustainable because teams will figure it out eventually. That's what happens when you come up with FIFA glitches in real life. People figure it out because they're like, fuck, we got to stop Arsenal. This is the one thing we can do to stop them. And then when they get stopped, they go on a bad run of form. So I think it's probably going to work for the rest of the season, but let's see if it works next season. I highly doubt it.
Right.
But yeah, Arteta is a prime example, though. In previous seasons, I would have agreed with that. He took a bit of time, but he got his own players and he completely retooled that squad and he made it his vision of himself. Now I think he's abandoned that kind of this year, but last year especially, and the last 2 to 3 years, they've been, if it wasn't for City, they would have been runaway champions. So it's, something to sort of look to, and it's more that if players are playing better and players are improving, that's the sign of progress rather than results.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's only hope really at this point. There's no expectation after this many years of failure. So
there's no expectation.
Good luck, mate. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
I have seen that Ange has been in a bit of hot water.
Yes, he is. They are horrendous. I mean, Spurs fans sort of say injuries are the problem, and they have had key injuries, but a lot of teams do. Their players not being consistent at all. They lose to the bad teams. They beat the good teams. And it's just frustrating for Tottenham fans. And yeah, Ange is a bit of trouble. Spurs fans throwing abuse at him after the last game they lost. And yeah, it's just not looking good for Ange at the moment. I don't think he'll get sacked, but he'll be in, he's going to be on the hot seat for a bit unless he can turn it around.
What a turn of events.
Well, yeah.
One day you're the Messiah, the next day.
Well, that's what happens when you've got clubs like Tottenham and Man United that have run so poorly for so many years. It's like, well, a guy can come in and make temporary success, but over the long term, he can't build anything because it's built on quicksand, unfortunately. So that's how, those... I mean, you can see the difference in the way clubs are run. See how Liverpool's run. See how City are run. I mean, they're obviously in a major strife at the moment themselves, but see how Arsenal are run. They're all linear in their vision and how they play and how they sort of manage it top to bottom. But Tottenham and United are just all over the shop. So, yeah, it's not great. It's not great at all. And the fact is, I want Tottenham... If Man United weren't going to win, I'd want Tottenham to do well because of Ange and the fact that they're not a rival of United. So it's better for them to win than friggin' Liverpool or Arsenal or Chelsea or, City. So, Yeah, that's another bad thing about it. But anyway, that's I think that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. Do you want to send the people out with anything? Any sort of message that you want them to hear prior to the ending of this podcast?
Remember to stay safe out there in summer, guys. Always wear your sunscreen.
Yeah.
Skin cancer is
this
really
is the
bad.
podcast. But anyway, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe, and see ya later.
Peace out.